There is a quiet strength in silence, a strength that most people misunderstand. We live in a world where sharing is encouraged. Open up, they say. Express everything, they say. But wisdom moves differently. Your biggest goals are not meant to be announced in their early stages. They are not meant to be explained, defended, or validated by others. When a goal is still forming, it is fragile, like a small flame in an open space. Even a gentle wind can weaken it, and the world is full of winds. Opinions, doubts, questions, and hidden judgments. The moment you speak your goal out loud, you change its energy. What was once a quiet, focused intention becomes exposed to the minds of others. Some will respond with curiosity, some with encouragement, but many, without realizing, will respond with limitation. They will measure your vision based on their own fears, their own experiences, their own boundaries. And slowly, if you are not careful, their limits begin to feel like your limits. Not everyone is meant to understand your path. Not everyone has the vision to see what you see. A person who has never walked your road cannot fully comprehend where you are going. Yet, when you share too early, you give them space to speak into something they do not truly understand. Their words may seem small, even harmless, but repeated doubt has a quiet power. It does not break you instantly. It weakens you gradually. There is also another danger in speaking your goals too soon. The mind begins to feel a false sense of progress. When you talk about what you will do, your brain can mistake those words for action. You feel as if you have already moved forward, when in reality, nothing has been built yet. This illusion steals your discipline. It makes you comfortable before you have earned the right to be. Silence, on the other hand, builds pressure. It creates focus. When no one knows your intention, there is no external validation to rely on. You are forced to depend on your own consistency, your own effort, your own inner drive. This is where real strength is formed. This is where your goal stops being an idea and starts becoming a part of who you are. When you move quietly, you also move freely. There is no need to explain delays, no pressure to meet expectations created by others, no distraction from unnecessary opinions. You work at your own pace, guided by clarity instead of noise. Your energy stays directed toward execution, not conversation. There is a time to speak, but that time comes after the foundation is strong. When your results begin to show, when your actions become undeniable, then your work will speak for itself. At that point, no opinion can shake it, because it is no longer just a vision. It is reality. Until then, protect your goal like something sacred. Let it grow in the background of your life. Feed it with discipline, not discussion. Strengthen it with action, not explanation. And understand that what you keep to yourself often has the greatest chance to succeed because it remains untouched by the noise of the world. Your weaknesses are not something to be displayed openly to everyone around you. They are not casual conversation, nor are they meant to be shared in moments of emotional impulse. They are sensitive parts of your inner world, and once exposed to the wrong person, they cannot be taken back. Words, once released, do not return to silence. There is a difference between expressing and exposing. Expressing is intentional, grounded, and directed toward growth. Exposing is uncontrolled, often driven by emotion, and offered to people who have not earned the right to understand you. Not everyone who listens does so with care. Some listen with curiosity, some with comparison, and some with quiet judgment, and even those who mean well may not have the wisdom to hold your vulnerability with respect. When you reveal your weaknesses to the wrong people, you place yourself in a position of quiet risk. People remember what you share. They may not use it immediately, but in moments of conflict, distance, or misunderstanding, those same weaknesses can return in ways you did not expect. What was once a moment of honesty can become a point of leverage. This is not always done with intention, but the outcome remains the same. There is also a deeper layer to this. The more you speak about your struggles without direction, the more you reinforce them within yourself. Repeatedly, telling your story of weakness can slowly turn it into an identity. You begin to see yourself through the lens of your problems instead of your potential. Your mind becomes familiar with limitation, and familiarity creates comfort, even if that comfort is harmful. This does not mean you should suppress everything. Silence is not about denial. It is about discernment. There are moments when speaking is necessary, but those moments require the right environment and the right person. Someone who listens without rushing to judge. Someone who offers clarity instead of confusion. Someone who understands that your vulnerability is not a weakness to observe, but a responsibility to respect. Choosing who hears your struggles is a form of strength. It requires awareness, patience, and control over your emotions. In moments of pain, the urge to speak is strong. The mind seeks relief, and sharing feels like release. But not all relief leads to healing. Sometimes it only creates more noise, more misunderstanding, more exposure. When you learn to hold your weaknesses with care, something changes within you. You begin to observe yourself more clearly. Instead of speaking immediately, you reflect. Instead of seeking comfort outside, you build stability within. This creates a quiet resilience. You become less dependent on external reassurance and more grounded in your own understanding. Your weaknesses are not meant to define you, but they can shape you if handled with discipline. Protecting them does not make you distant. It makes you aware. It ensures that what is fragile within you is given the space to strengthen rather than being scattered across conversations that do not serve your growth. Doing good is natural when the heart is aligned, but the moment it becomes something to display, its essence begins to change. A kind act, when shared for recognition, slowly loses its purity. What was once done with sincerity becomes mixed with expectation, and expectation quietly transforms the intention behind the action. There is a subtle shift that happens when you speak about your good deeds. At first, it may seem harmless. You tell someone what you did, perhaps to inspire, perhaps to express. But deep within, the mind begins to look for a response. Appreciation, acknowledgement, approval. When that response comes, it creates a feeling, one that the mind wants again. And without realizing it, the act of doing good becomes connected to the desire to be seen. True goodness does not need an audience. It does not seek validation because it is already complete within itself. When you help someone quietly, when you give without announcing it, the act remains whole. It belongs only to the moment in which it was done. There is no division between intention and action. There is no external influence shaping its value. When good deeds are shared repeatedly, they can also create an image. People begin to see you in a certain way, and that image brings its own pressure. You may feel the need to maintain it, to live up to it, to continue acting in ways that support how others perceive you. This pulls you away from authenticity and into performance. Your actions are no longer guided purely by what is right, but also by how they will be viewed. There is also another layer that often goes unnoticed. When you speak of your kindness, it can unintentionally create discomfort in others. Some may feel compared, some may feel judged, and some may question your intention. Even if your heart was genuine in the beginning, the act of sharing can distort how it is received. What was meant to be positive can quietly create distance instead. Silence protects the integrity of your actions. It allows you to give freely without attachment. When there is no need to speak about what you have done, you remain focused on the act itself, not the reaction that follows. This builds a deeper sense of discipline. You begin to act not for recognition, but because it aligns with who you are becoming. There is a quiet strength in knowing that you have done something meaningful and allowing that to remain within you. It creates a sense of inner fulfillment that does not depend on the outside world. You do not need to prove your goodness because it is reflected in how you live, not in what you say. When you remove the need to announce your actions, you also remove the possibility of pride taking control. Pride can grow slowly, often unnoticed, shaping your behavior in ways that distance you from humility. By keeping your good deeds private, you protect yourself from this shift. You remain grounded, aware that what you do is not meant to elevate you above others, but to strengthen your character from within. Your next move carries energy long before it becomes visible. It begins as thought, then intention, then quiet preparation. In this early stage, it is sensitive to influence. The more you speak about it, the more you expose it to forces that can disturb its direction. Words invite attention, and attention brings interference, sometimes subtle, sometimes direct. When you reveal your plans too soon, you open a space for reaction. People respond based on their own perspective, not yours. Some will question your approach. Some will suggest alternatives. And some will express doubt without even realizing it. Each response, no matter how small, has an effect. It pulls your focus away from execution and toward explanation. Instead of building, you begin defending. Instead of moving forward, you begin adjusting to opinions that were never meant to guide you. There is also a quiet pressure that comes from being known for what you intend to do. Once others are aware, expectations are formed. They may ask about your progress, measure your speed, or compare your actions to your words. This creates a weight that was not necessary. Your movement becomes influenced by timelines and perceptions that exist outside of your control. What should have been a focused journey becomes a performance. Silence removes this pressure. When no one knows your next step, you are free to shape it without distraction. You can make mistakes privately, adjust your direction, and refine your approach without the need to explain every change. This freedom allows growth to happen naturally. It keeps your attention where it belongs, on the process, not the perception. Another risk of sharing your plans too early is the presence of competition. Not everyone who hears your ideas will simply observe them. Some will act on them. They may take your concept, your approach, or your timing and move with it in their own way. What you intended to build quietly can become something others attempt to replicate or surpass before you even begin. This does not always come from ill intent, but the outcome remains the same. Your path becomes crowded before it has had the chance to develop. Moving in silence protects your originality. It allows your work to take form without being diluted by external influence. You stay connected to your own thinking, your own strategy, your own rhythm. This creates clarity, and clarity leads to stronger decisions. There is also a deeper discipline in holding your plans within. It trains you to rely on action rather than words. Speaking about a plan can create a temporary sense of satisfaction, as if progress has already been made. But real progress is built through consistent effort, not conversation. When you choose silence, you remove that illusion. You face the work directly, without distraction. Over time, this builds a different kind of confidence. Not the confidence that comes from talking about what you will do, but the confidence that comes from knowing you are doing it. Quietly, steadily, without the need for recognition. And when the moment arrives, when your work becomes visible, it carries a different weight. It is not an idea being introduced. It is a reality being revealed. Your personal life holds a kind of energy that is easily disturbed when it is exposed too widely. The more people are allowed into it, the more opinions, expectations, and interpretations begin to form around it. What once felt simple and natural can slowly become complicated, not because anything within it has changed, but because too many external voices have entered the space. There is a tendency to share moments, relationships, emotions, private experiences as a way to feel connected or understood. But not every connection requires visibility. Not every moment needs to be explained or displayed. When you allow others to see deeply into your personal life, you also allow them to form conclusions that may not reflect your reality. These conclusions, once formed, often return to you in the form of advice, judgment, or subtle influence. Even those who care about you can unintentionally create pressure. They may offer opinions about your choices, your relationships, or your decisions. Their words may come from concern, but concern does not always bring clarity. Sometimes it brings confusion. When too many perspectives surround you, it becomes difficult to hear your own thoughts clearly. Your inner voice becomes quieter, and you begin to rely more on external guidance than internal understanding. Privacy creates space. It allows your personal life to grow without interference. When fewer people are involved, there are fewer expectations to manage, fewer opinions to consider, and fewer distractions to navigate. This simplicity protects your peace. It keeps your focus on what truly matters rather than on how things appear to others. There is also a deeper sense of stability that comes from keeping certain parts of your life private. When something is not constantly discussed or displayed, it becomes less affected by change. It is not influenced by reactions, comparisons, or outside attention. It exists on its own terms, guided by your choices rather than by external feedback. In relationships, this becomes even more important. The more people know, the more they feel invited to comment. Small disagreements can become larger when shared. Personal moments can lose their meaning when exposed to too many perspectives. What should be handled quietly between two people can become something shaped by many voices, each adding their own interpretation. Protecting your personal life is not about hiding. It is about understanding that not everything benefits from exposure. Some things grow stronger in silence because they are given the space to develop naturally. They are not interrupted, not analyzed, not reshaped by outside influence. When you learn to keep your personal world contained, you begin to experience a different kind of control. Your peace becomes less dependent on how others respond. Your happiness becomes less tied to how things are perceived. You move with a quiet confidence, knowing that what matters most is not on display and therefore cannot be easily disturbed. This discipline requires awareness. It means resisting the urge to share every detail, especially in moments of emotion. It means recognizing that just because something can be shared does not mean it should be. And over time, this awareness creates a boundary, one that protects your energy your relationships, and your sense of self from unnecessary exposure. And in the end, understand this clearly. Your life becomes stronger not when everything is shared, but when the right things are protected. There is power in what you choose to keep within. There is clarity in what you refuse to expose. And there is peace in knowing that not everything needs to be understood by others. The world will always ask you to explain yourself, to reveal more, to open every door. But wisdom teaches you something different. Not every door needs to be opened. Not every thought needs to be spoken. Not every part of your life needs an audience. When you learn to move in silence, when you learn to protect what is sacred, you begin to walk a different path, a path where your energy is not scattered, a path where your focus is not broken, a path where your peace is not easily disturbed. You stop seeking validation. You stop explaining your direction. You stop giving access to those who have not earned it. And in that moment, you become grounded. You become centered. You become in control. Because real strength is quiet. Real discipline is invisible. And real growth happens where no one is watching. So speak less, protect more, and let your life become your message.